Hi, I know many of you will have bought these battery booster packs or something like that, which are really great for getting you out of trouble if you've left the lights on or something like that. But I bet also quite a few of you have found that when you really needed it, it was flat, and in fact it was no use. Now most of these things come with a little charger, and what you're supposed to do is once a month take it out of the car and charge it up overnight and then take it back to the car. But the reality is, how many people are going to get around to doing that? Not very many, probably. So what we really need is a nice easy way of permanently keeping this on charge that doesn't require any ongoing effort on our part. And so what I'm going to show you is a very simple way of doing that. The simplest way that I've found of keeping your battery booster charged is to use one of these. Now this is a fairly cheap solar panel that you can get from places like Maplin, or you can get them off eBay. This one is rated at 2.4 watts at 17.5 volts. In fact, it won't produce that when you connect it up to the battery, because it will, the voltage will significantly reduce. So you're going to get typically around 1.5 watts out of it. That's about the right sort of level. If you have a solar panel that's too big, you're going to overcharge the battery, and that's going to cause other problems. And even in winter, this will still produce enough power to keep it charged and still enable you to charge up the pump up the tyres every now and then. But there is a catch, which I'll come to in a minute. Right. Okay, the easiest way to connect the solar panel to the battery booster is by using a cigarette lighter socket, a cigarette lighter plug. Now the way this connects up, from the wire that comes out of the solar panel, the positive goes to the center one, and the negative goes to these the side ones here, which is actually one piece of metal. And most of these have you'll see they have a 12 volt cigarette lighter socket, which you can use for powering other things. Now there's the catch here though, is that many of these will have a diode to prevent charge going into the devices. I'm not quite sure why they have that, some kind of protection presumably, but if you simply connect this up and plug it in, it won't work. What you'll find, it just simply won't charge. So what you need to do, on the circuit inside this, where you see the diode, on the back of this connector, you just need to short it out and solder a bit of wire across it, and that will enable you to charge up via the cigarette lighter socket, which is the most convenient way. Okay, just to clarify about shorting out the diode, although it's a little hard to see because this doesn't focus very close, the diode inside the battery booster is normally a short black cylinder with a white ring at one end, and this indicates it's a diode. Now where you short in order to enable you to charge is between the two legs of the diode. So in other words, you connect a bit of wire between there and there, and that will enable it to charge in future. You're effectively shorting out, bypassing the diode completely, but that doesn't really matter. The other thing you need to think about is where you're going to put this. Normally you would put this on the rear parcel shelf, but what you don't want is that if you're involved in any kind of accident, you do not want this to become a flying object and sever someone's head, basically, because that's the kind of thing that could happen. So what you need to do, on the back of this I've stuck two long strips of Velcro. Now Velcro comes in two types, or hook and loop. You've got the hook bit, which when you look at them very finely, very closely, you'll see the little hooks, and you've got loops, which is normally the other half, and they are a complete loop. The complete loops won't tend to grip onto things, but the little hooks will. And so you need to glue on very strongly two strips of the hook bit of Velcro, which you can get from all kinds of places. And I'll show you how it normally goes together. So where would you put this? Well, it's normally going to go on the rear parcel shelf, somewhere where it's going to be constantly exposed to daylight. So somewhere like this, for example, and where you've got the lead closest to where you're going to have your battery booster permanently in your boot. To install this, just press it down on the fabric, on the furry bit. If you've got like a hard plastic surface, you'll need to use these screw holes to drill holes to keep it permanently mounted. You mustn't have this just floating around. But to get it to really stick, just actually wiggle it from side to side as if you're trying to rotate it. And then simply plug this into the cigarette lighter socket. And in fact, if you have a look at this, you can see that this one is fully charged because it's been plugged in all the time. So that is by far the simplest and easiest way of keeping your battery booster fully charged. That means it's always going to be ready and you can still use it for pumping up the tyres every time you need it.